The term PTSD is well known, but for many survivors, it feels like an incomplete story. Their trauma wasn't a single, definable event. It was a prolonged state of being. This is the reality of complex PTSD, or CPTSD. Today, we cut straight to the point. We will explore the critical, life-altering differences between these two diagnoses. This isn't just information, it's validation for a pain that is often misunderstood. Because you can't begin to heal a wound you don't fully understand. Let's get into the differences. Difference 1, the source of the wound. The first and most fundamental difference lies in the very nature of the traumatic experience. This is the bedrock upon which everything else is built. PTSD is typically linked to a single, terrifying event, or a series of events over a limited period. This could be a serious accident, a physical or sexual assault, a natural disaster, or combat exposure. The event has a clear beginning and a clear end, even if the memory of it continues to haunt the present. The mind is trying to process an overwhelming experience that shattered its sense of safety in the world. It's a reaction to a horrifying event that happened to you. CPTSD, on the other hand, arises from slow, relentless exposure to trauma. It stems from prolonged, repeated traumatic situations where the victim has little or no chance of escape. This is not a single event. It is a state of being, often lasting for months, years, or even decades. The most common sources are experiences like ongoing childhood physical, emotional, or sexual abuse, being a prisoner of war, long-term domestic violence, or living in a situation with a complete loss of control. In these situations, the trauma isn't an interruption to your life. It is your life. The person inflicting the pain is often a caregiver, a parent, a partner, the very people who were supposed to be the source of safety. This betrayal is a poison that seeps into the foundation of a person's being. The wound of PTSD is a battle scar. The wound of CPTSD is the cage itself, and the memory of how you learn to live inside it. Difference 2, the emotional echo. How the trauma echoes in a person's daily emotional life is another key distinction. In PTSD, the emotional landscape is often characterized by extreme highs and lows. A person might experience intense flashbacks that feel as real as the original event, plunging them back into terror. They live in a state of hypervigilance, constantly scanning for danger, with an easily triggered startle response. The emotional state is one of being on guard against a threat that might return at any moment. Then, to cope, they may swing to the other extreme, emotional numbness and avoidance, trying to feel nothing at all to escape the overwhelming fear. CPTSD includes all of that, but it goes deeper, affecting the very core of a person's ability to regulate their emotions on a day-to-day basis. Because the trauma was constant, the dysregulation becomes constant. This can manifest as explosive anger that seems to come from nowhere, or a persistent heavy sadness that colors every experience. It can also look like a chronic difficulty with self-soothing. While someone with PTSD might be trying to manage panic attacks, a person with CPTSD might be struggling with the basic act of feeling calm or content in their own skin. There can also be periods of suicidal thoughts, not necessarily from a desire to die, but from a desperate need for the relentless internal pain to finally stop. It's not just about reliving the storm. For many with CPTSD, it's about having forgotten what the sun ever felt like. Difference 3, the shattered mirror. Perhaps the most painful and defining feature of CPTSD is its devastating impact on a person's identity and self-concept. With PTSD, an individual's sense of self is often shaken. They might say, "I'm not the same person I was before the accident." The trauma is seen as something that happened to them, an external event that left an internal scar. They are a survivor of a terrible thing. With CPTSD, the trauma becomes internalized. It's not what happened to you, it's what you believe you are. Because the abuse or neglect was often relational and happened during formative years, the victim absorbs the blame. A child can't comprehend that their parent is unsafe. Instead, their mind concludes, "I must be unlovable, I must be bad, I am the problem." This leads to a toxic sense of shame. It's a feeling of being fundamentally flawed, worthless, or disgusting. It's a belief that you are broken beyond repair. This isn't just low self-esteem. It's a core identity built on a foundation of worthlessness. While the person with PTSD fights the memory of what happened, the person with CPTSD fights the very reflection they see in the mirror every single day. Healing from PTSD is often about integrating a terrible memory. Healing from CPTSD is about rebuilding a self that you were taught to hate. Difference 4. The broken compass in relationships. Our early experiences form a blueprint for how we connect with others. This is where CPTSD leaves one of its deepest and most confusing marks. For someone with PTSD, relationships can become difficult. They may withdraw from loved ones, feel detached, or become irritable, straining even the strongest bonds. Their fear and hypervigilance can make it hard to trust others and feel safe in intimacy. The world feels dangerous, so people feel dangerous. For someone with CPTSD, the blueprint for relationships itself is corrupted. The trauma was often inflicted by a person who was supposed to be a source of love and protection. The roles of caregiver and abuser, love and pain, became tangled together. As a result, relationships in adulthood become a minefield of confusion and fear. This can manifest in several ways. A person might desperately crave intimacy, but be terrified of it, pushing away anyone who gets too close. They may unconsciously recreate the dynamics of their original trauma, finding themselves in relationships with people who are unavailable, controlling, or abusive, because chaos feels more familiar than safety. They may struggle to trust anyone, including themselves, leading to a painful sense of isolation. It's an invisible loneliness that persists even when surrounded by people. The core wound isn't just a fear of being hurt by others. It's a deep-seated uncertainty about what a safe and loving connection even looks or feels like. Difference 5. The escape inside. Dissociation is a defense mechanism the mind uses to disconnect from overwhelming experiences. It's a form of mental escape when physical escape isn't possible. Both PTSD and CPTSD involve dissociation, but its role and presentation are different. In PTSD, dissociation often occurs during the traumatic event itself or during a flashback. It can feel like an out-of-body experience, or as if you're watching a movie of your life. It's a temporary, powerful defense against a specific, overwhelming threat. In CPTSD, dissociation is not just a defense mechanism, it's a way of life. When a child is trapped in a reality that is consistently terrifying or painful, their mind learns to check out for long periods. It becomes a primary coping strategy that carries over into adulthood. This can look like chronic fogginess or brain fog. It can manifest as significant memory gaps from childhood. It can be a feeling of being a detached observer of your own life, as if you're on autopilot. This isn't just about escaping a memory. It's about escaping the constant, moment-to-moment pain of your own existence. It's the mind's last refuge when the body cannot escape. This chronic detachment can make it incredibly difficult to feel present, to connect with your own emotions, or to feel truly alive and engaged in the world. It's the ghost-like feeling of living a life that doesn't entirely feel like your own. Difference 6. The loss of a system of meanings. Finally, we arrive at one of the most existential differences: the impact on a person's belief system. Trauma of any kind can shake a person's worldview. Someone with PTSD might struggle with the question, "Why did this happen to me?" and may feel that the world is a more dangerous place than they once thought. It challenges their sense of justice and safety. CPTSD, however, can completely annihilate a person's entire system of meaning. When you have been systematically broken down by other human beings for a prolonged period, it can lead to a complete loss of faith in humanity itself. The belief in a just world, in the inherent goodness of people, or in any kind of higher power or spiritual source of comfort can be completely shattered. This isn't just disillusionment. It's a deep, spiritual despair. It's a sense of hopelessness that can feel absolute. The search for meaning becomes excruciating because the evidence of your life has shown you that meaning, safety, and justice do not exist. For many with CPTSD, the healing journey isn't just about managing symptoms or processing memories. It's the monumental task of trying to find a flicker of light, a reason to hope, in a world that they were taught is nothing but darkness. So, as we see, while they share the word trauma, PTSD and CPTSD are distinct experiences that leave different wounds. One is a scar from a terrible event. The other is a complex architecture of survival, built in response to a toxic environment. Recognizing these differences is not an academic exercise. It is an act of validation. It is the first step toward finding the right kind of help, the right kind of therapy, and the right kind of self-compassion. Understanding that your struggles with relationships, your emotional turmoil, and your shattered sense of self are not character flaws, but predictable consequences of what you endured, is powerful. It shifts the narrative from, "What is wrong with me?" to, "What happened to me?" And that is where the power to heal truly lies. If this video helped you feel seen, or understand yourself or someone you love a little better, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. We're building a community here based on understanding and compassion. And now, I'd love to hear from you. Which of these differences resonated with you the most? You don't need to share any details you're not comfortable with, but letting us know which point truly hit home helps us all feel a little less alone in our experiences. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your voice matters, and your story is a vital part of this conversation. Thank you for watching.